Good morning, Warriors, and welcome to our very first Warrior News. My name is Devin Van Leeuw, and I am very pleased to be bringing you our very first episode of our weekly announcement and news. Every Monday morning, our newscast will be sent out to everyone for your viewing interest. During these announcements, we will be sharing with you our cafeteria menus, upcoming school events, staff announcements, and weekly student and staff interviews. I am super excited to bring you our very first segment of the week. Let's bring you to April with this week's staff announcements.
I'm April Ray, and here are your announcements from staff to students for the week of August 23rd. Wawasee High School would like to introduce our new nurses. Mrs. Harris is our registered nurse. She is passionate about working in pediatrics and helping children achieve physical, mental, and emotional health and well-being. Mrs. Mangus is our health care assistant. She is CMA certified and has been working in a medical assistant for the last 10 years and has also been an EMT. If you have any health-related questions, email Ms. Harris at kharris@wawasee.k12.in.us. A message from Mrs. Falble in the LRC. Our hours for the LRC are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3:05 p.m. The LRC will be closed from 11:30 a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. for lunch. The new tech desk will be in the LRC. Mrs. Bowman will help you with anything tech. From the attendance office. Students, remember that if you are driving now or are planning to drive at any point this year, buy your parking ticket before September 1st. Parking tickets are $10 through the last day in August. Please have the blue information sheet completed as well as the extracurricular drug consent form to Mrs. Salerno in the attendance office by August 31st. Green and gold cards are on sale now in the athletic office. Students, student cards are $50 and are good for the whole year. Talk to Mr. Doty or Mrs. Ritchie in the athletic office if you have any questions. Wawasee High School is pleased to announce the hiring of Joe Salazar as the next head baseball coach at Wawasee High School. Coach Salazar, a 1994 Wawasee High School graduate, participated in baseball, football, basketball, and wrestling at Wawasee before attending Goshen College to major in business and play baseball. He has been a long-time fixture within many of the Wawasee community youth sports organizations. He has most recently coached the Wawasee Middle School 8th grade football team and the Wawasee Elite Youth Baseball Travel Team. Welcome, Coach Salazar.
Thank you, April. This week I had the pleasure of sitting down with the Mr. Walmer and getting an insight of his past and his plan for our future here at Wawasee.
Good morning. My name is Devin Van Leeuw, joined alongside Mr. Jeff Walmer. How are you doing, Mr. Walmer?
I'm well, Devin. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we're going to ask a few questions of you today about a little bit about your personal life along with the school itself.
Okay.
So we'll start with, what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 2002, so the end of this school year will be my 20th anniversary from graduating high school.
That, in fact,
Crazy.
was before I was even born. But what was something you did after high school?
I went to Grace College and played baseball there and enjoyed my time there. In fact, went to Grace College not expecting to be a teacher. I really went in there to be I wanted to be actually a radio sports broadcaster, to be honest with you. And then my life took a turn my sophomore year and I went into education.
Cool. So your first teaching job was at Wawasee, is that correct?
It was, yep.
So what was something that made you come back or come to Wawasee from there?
Okay, so, and I've told people this before, so I say it tongue in cheek, but I didn't want to come to Wawasee. I really didn't. But actually, Mr. Phillips had let me know that there is a math teaching position as well as a basketball and baseball coaching position that was open. And so I thought, well, I'll at least put my application in. And so I came up, they called me for an interview. I interviewed, And a couple hours later, they called me back and offered me the job and said I had 24 hours to decide. And I thought, oh my gosh. Like I really wasn't, my heart was to be somewhere else. And so I talked to my wife, and we had been recently married, and we talked about, you know what, maybe we can start our own roots in a different community, kind of get away from our parents a little bit and just figure out who we are as a couple away from the family. And we came up here in 2007 and instantly fell in love with Wawasee.
So that subject of math is something that you went into right away. Is that something you enjoyed from high school, or what's a favorite subject of yours that you remember? Math
probably would have been my favorite, math and social studies. In fact, when I contemplated education, it was between those two. And at the time, and it probably still is true today, but at that time, there were a lot of people applying for social studies teaching positions. A lot of people had that license. But if you had a math license, it was a lot easier to get a teaching job. So I decided to go the harder route in college so that when I got out of college, it'd be easier to get a job.
Awesome. So obviously, teaching is not the biggest part of your life. You also have a family as well. Do you want to elaborate on how your family's doing?
Sure, thanks. My wife and I actually had this picture here. We were high school sweethearts, went to prom together, and there's our prom 2002 picture. And we have been married for 15 years. And we have 4 beautiful children from ages from 11 down to 2 years old. 3 boys and a girl. Got our girl there at the end. And my wife is also in education.
Cool. So other than eating puppy chow, what's something that you enjoy to do during your free time?
I love puppy chow. I've got puppy chow over here that they were giving me a hard time about. They were going to bring as a prop in here. My wife made some the other night, and I brought it to school, and it's phenomenal. But, okay, so any Mexican food, so like Los Torritos that just came here to Syracuse, I'm not kidding you, I've probably eaten there 10 times. I'm not kidding, like since they opened, I think July 4th, I've been there probably 10 times. It's so awesome. I love it. Arroz con pollo with a side of sour cream, flour tortillas, and some queso.
So after a while from teaching from Wawasee, you ended up going back to Warsaw, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Becoming an administrator there. So you ended up coming back 2 years ago to Wawasee again as the principal. What was something that made you want to come back and do that?
So I taught 5 years of math here, and then I actually got my start in administration at Goshen Middle School, where I was an assistant principal for a year. After 1 year there, I actually came back to Wawasee High School and was assistant principal here for a year. My parents, my family, my wife's family, everyone was in Warsaw, and we were constantly traveling to Warsaw. And it was like, man, a position had opened there, and I really struggled, but I thought at the time, I thought it was best that I at least go for it, and I ended up getting that job. So I ended up being at Warsaw for 5 years as an assistant principal. During that time, Mr. Gwynn, a few years later, became principal here at Wawasee High School. He and I taught together and were really good friends. And I knew he was a phenomenal principal. And I expected him to be here forever. And so I never really thought about the opportunity of coming back to Wawasee. He and I had spoke when I found out that he was resigning and taking an awesome opportunity he had at another corporation. And I said to my wife, I'm like, you know what? I feel like I got to at least go for it, because there are 2 places that I absolutely love, Wawasee and in Warsaw, where I was at the time. There was no other place I would have left except for Wawasee, because I absolutely loved it here. And I just felt like I got to at least give it a chance, because if I go for it and don't get the job, that's okay. I at least know I went for it, and I'm okay with that. But I'll regret not at least giving it a shot. And when I was hired here, it was so exciting. I don't know if you can see the picture up here, but that picture up there, my family, is the night that I was approved by the school board here. We went out to eat afterwards and celebrated. And I have that picture up there because it means it's not just my family, but that was a very, very special moment for me the night that I was approved by the board.
Yeah, so with being principal here, we've obviously got a lot of student activities going on. I know Student Council, Key Club's got a lot planned for this year that's going to better Wawasee. What's something that you're excited about, or what's some future plans you want to see happen at Wawasee here?
This is your school. This is. I didn't graduate from Wawasee. The times I wish I did, because then I could have that. Hey, I'm a former Wawasee graduate as well. We have a lot of former Wawasee graduates that are working here today, whether in administration, teaching, paraprofessionals, custodial staff, cafeteria staff, and there's a lot of pride And this is our school, but this is your school. This is the student school, and I want you guys to have an amazing 4 years here. I know COVID has kind of rocked that the last year and a half, and for the seniors this year, I want the senior year to be, we come together, have some activities, bring everybody together, have fun, but do it in a kind and loving way, not in a, being jerks or whatever. But like, I want our school to come together. I know you'll see me in the cafeteria in the hallways, and I might be goofy. I might be like, is that guy what's he on right now? Does he drink too much coffee or what? But I'm genuinely excited to be here. And I hope that the students, when they leave here, can look back and reflect on the time that they had with their friends, with whatever they went to, the social times that they had, the events, that they had fun doing it. And so with Student Council, Key Club, and all the other NHS, all the other clubs that are doing positive things, I want to do whatever I can to support them.
Cool. So what's something that you're most proud of with the student body coming into this school year with?
Everything's too general, probably, right? Obviously it's only been a few days in, and so I get to hang out with you right now, Devin. I get to be with the rest of the crew that's here with the radio and TV program, what we're doing here. But outside of that, I haven't had too many interactions quite yet with some serious conversations. Obviously with Kennedy and Devin and Mrs. Myers and Student Council and others, I have. And I'll say that I've really enjoyed, Kennedy's brought some great proposals to me. We're working through some things that we can hopefully approve for the student body. So I think that the goals and the hopes are there to make this an exciting year for students. And so I think that's what I've been most proud about, is that it's not just me that wants to see awesome things happen for the students, but I know the students are trying to make that happen too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me this morning. I'm Devin Van Loo from the main office.
Well, I thought you were going to ask me about Mr. Snyder.
Well, I guess we can. So what made you choose Mr. Snyder as
Thank
your
you.
vice
Okay.
president?
Well, I feel like it needs to be said because, when we talked before, Devin had a question about maybe why I was choosing Mr. Snyder as my assistant principal. But quite frankly, yes, I asked Mr. Snyder if he would have interest in coming here to be an assistant principal for me. But Mr. Snyder chose us more than I chose him. Mr. Snyder did not have to take the move that he did. He was principal of Wicklow High School. He was having a lot of success, and he had been adored by so many people. And so I owe Mr. Snyder a great deal of gratitude for coming here. He was a former coach of mine. We were assistant principals together at Warsaw, and he's always been a mentor of mine. And I knew coming in my first year as being a principal, if I could have somebody with some wisdom, somebody that can keep me in check when I might be doing something that I need someone to give me some wiser advice for. And so with the fact that he said he would come here and join me in this here at Wawasee was incredibly thrilling. And so I would just advise you or any other, as you proceed forward into whether it's high school, college, or into a job, especially the younger you are when you get into a leadership position, if you can find somebody to surround yourself with people that are wise, surround yourself with people, if you can, with experience, with wisdom, and understand that while I'm a leader, I also know I'm a little bit younger and I don't have as much life experience as some other people. And if you can surround yourself with those people, it just makes you a lot more effective and makes your job a lot easier. So that is my advice to all of you. And I learned that from a former colleague that I had worked with when I was younger, and he had told me the same thing. And so that said, I'm not saying Mr. Snyder's old, but he is wise. So there's that.
Alrighty, well, thanks for joining us today on Warrior News. From the main office, I'm Devin Van Loo.
Thank you, Mr. Walmer, for sitting down with me this week. Food and water are necessities for survival. Let's hear from Susan with this week's Cafeteria Menus.
I'm Susan Lauber with the Wawasee breakfast menu on Warrior News. All items are subject to change. Tuesday's breakfast. Homemade breakfast burritos with juice, fruit, and milk, or choose the grab-and-go options. Wednesday's breakfast. Biscuits and gravies with juice, fruit, and milk, or choose the grab-and-go options. Thursday's breakfast. Dutch waffles with juice, fruit, and milk, or choose the grab-and-go options. Friday's breakfast. Breakfast pizza with juice, fruit, and milk, or choose the grab-and-go options. Now moving to the lunch menu. Monday's lunch is either chicken wings with sauce in a roll or pepperoni Bosco sticks with a side of grandma's green peas and options of cold veggies and mixed fruits, pineapple, and applesauce. Tuesday's lunch, either barbecue chicken flatbread or Mexican pizza with a side of potato smiles, or vegetarian beans and options of cold veggies and mandarin oranges and bananas. Wednesday's lunch, either Philly steak sandwiches or mozzarella sticks with marinara, with a side of French fries or mixed veggies and options of cold veggies and apple slices or pears. Thursday's lunch, either beef teriyaki bites with pretzel nuggets and cheese, or a barbecue rib sandwich with a side of roasted Brussels sprouts or mashed potatoes, and options of cold veggies, grapes, and peaches. Finishing up this segment with Friday's lunch, either orange chicken with rice or French bread pizza with a side of steamed broccoli and options of cold veggies, applesauce, and mandarin oranges.
Thank you, Susan. Our Warrior athletes have been working hard all summer to be able to compete this fall. Here's Wesley with this week's sports schedule.
This is Wesley Wireball with your sports schedule for the week of August 23rd. All athletic schedules are subject to change. Tonight, the boys varsity soccer team will host South Bend Riley. Kickoff is at 5:30. The JV and varsity volleyball teams will host Lakeland. JV will serve it up at 5:30 with varsity to follow. On Tuesday, the boys varsity tennis team will travel to Central Noble. The first serve is at 5 p.m. The girls varsity soccer team will host Manchester. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. The freshman, JV, and varsity volleyball teams will travel to Central Noble. The first serve is at 6 p.m. On Wednesday, the girls varsity golf team will host Concord and Mishawaka at Max Welton Golf Course. Tee time is 5 p.m. The girls JV soccer team will travel to Tippecanoe Valley. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. On Thursday, the boys varsity tennis team will travel to West Noble. The first serve is at 5 p.m. The girls varsity golf team will travel to McCormick Creek Golf Course to take on Northwood and Plymouth. Tee time is 5:30 p.m. The JV and varsity volleyball teams will host Bethany Christian. The first serve is at 5:30 p.m. The boys JV and varsity soccer teams will travel to Culver Academies. Kickoff is at 5:30 p.m. The freshman football team will host Columbia City. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. On Friday, the varsity football team will travel to West Noble. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. If you can't make it to the game, listen live on 93.7 FM The Mix or online at 937themix.com. On Saturday, the freshman volleyball team will compete in the Northwood Invitational. The invite starts at 8:30 a.m. The varsity volleyball team will compete in the Westview Invitational. The invite starts at 9 a.m. The boys varsity tennis team will compete in the Bremen Invitational. The invite starts at 9 a.m. The co-ed cross-country team will compete in the Northwood Invitational. The invite starts at 10 a.m. The JV football team will host West Noble. Kickoff is at 10 a.m. The JV and varsity girls soccer teams will travel to Concord. The JV and varsity boys soccer teams will host West Noble. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. Let's get out there and support our Warriors.
Thank you, Wesley. I encourage you all to get out and cheer for our Warriors. School policies are put into action to enhance your learning here at Wawasee. Let's hear from Misha with this week's highlighted school policies on this segment of Real Talk.
Hello everyone, my name is Misha Akala and I'll be talking to you all about our school policies. Today's topic I will be discussing about are cellular devices, how to behave with them during school hours. Cell phones are not to be used during instructional times unless approval has been granted. The use of cell phones during class is fully up to your teacher. If cell phones are not allowed in your teacher's class, your teacher has the right to confiscate your phone. Moving along from that, cell phones are available to use during passing periods, hallways, before and after school hours, and in the cafeteria. So you might be wondering, Misha, what happens when I don't follow the rules and my phone gets taken away? Well, let me tell you, Warriors, if your phone has been confiscated, it will not be released to you personally. Although, parents will be allowed to pick up your phone in the attendant's office. Small suggestion I would recommend, probably leave your expensive devices at home to prevent loss, damage, and/or theft. it is likely the school will not be able to recover your lost property. That brings me to the end of this segment. I'm Misha Akala. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Misha. All school policies are located in the Wawasee High School Handbook on your Chromebook. This week, I also had the opportunity to sit down with our student body president, Kennedy Adkins, to hear her story and plans for Student Council this school year.
Good morning. I'm Devin Van Loo, joined alongside Kennedy Adkins, our student body president. So how you doing, Kennedy?
Pretty good.
Good. So we're just going to get to know Kennedy a little bit in our first interview here. So how does it feel to be a senior?
It's crazy. I have been here for 4 years, obviously, and time really flies.
Indeed it does. So what other activities are you involved in here at Wawasee?
I am a part of NHS, National Honor Society, Dollars for Scholars. I am on the tennis team. I'm a manager. I also manage baseball. And I've been involved with a teen court program throughout the courthouse, but that's just volunteering.
Awesome. So what are some plans that you have for after high school?
I definitely want to go to college, not sure where yet, but I am thinking I'm wanting to be involved in the law, like maybe a lawyer, or definitely something with the environment, maybe an environmental lawyer.
Cool. So being a part of student council is a big part in this school. So what was something that made you want to join student council?
Well, freshman year, I was placed out in the ag building for warrior time, and I didn't want to walk over there, especially in the winter, so I decided to join student council, which not the traditional way of wanting to join, but.
And if I remember correctly, your sister was also in
yeah,
student council.
my sister was in student council.
Was that
too.
a big influence as well?
Yeah. She was pretty involved.
Yeah. So why did you decide to run for student body president?
Well, I really wanted to focus on making the school a better place, especially for the senior year. I wanted to go all out, especially with COVID happening throughout the year. I wanted to really emphasize the new change and bring upon a lot of new activities and events.
Cool. So your vice president is Devin Kuhn.
Yes.
So what was the reason that you two decided to come together and run?
Well, I first just originally was like, we should go. We should try to make the senior year as best as possible. He was like, yeah, let's do this. And so we both just kind of collaborated. It's more of a co-presidency than vice and main president, but.
Yeah. So we got a big year ahead of us. In
Yes.
student council meetings we've had, it sounds like we've got a lot coming up, especially homecoming coming up here in a few weeks. But what are some big plans that you have for this school year?
Well, obviously homecoming, we're trying to make that way more involved and interactive than last year's. Especially last year, we didn't really get much to do. But we're going to try to make homecoming a big thing. I really want to make Christmas a big thing this year. I feel like when we were in elementary school, it was a big thing, and everyone would I don't know, it was just a gathering that everyone would have a lot of fun. And I really want to make Christmas a bigger deal. And then obviously powwow. We haven't been able to do that in the past couple years. The freshmen, sophomores, and juniors have never been to one, so we're really looking to make powwow a bigger thing.
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned was culture, and I think that's something that's very important in schools themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So what is something that you believe that our culture could improve on in this school?
I want to improve school spirit so bad. I feel like student participation and people going to events this year haven't been very great, so I want to encourage students to get out to games and to dress up for dress-up days and just all around have more school spirit.
Awesome. So is there something that students can do themselves to kind of build that culture in our school here?
I would say if you could get out to games or just participate in clubs. Also dress-up days, if you guys can dress up for dress-up days, I would really appreciate that. No one is going to, no one's going to make fun of you for going all out. It's really the effort that counts.
Awesome. And lastly, we got a big school year coming up, so what is something you're mostly excited about?
I'm so excited to get back into the swing of things. These last few years with COVID has just really knocked everyone down and made stuff not able to happen. So if we could get back on track and make stuff possible again, that's really what I'm looking for.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, Kennedy.
No problem.
From the Commons, I'm Devin Van Loo.
Thank you, Kennedy, for joining us. For our last segment of today, let's see what the weather's going to look like this week. Take it away, Jet.
Hi, I'm Jarrett Replogle with this week's weather forecast. Today is going to be a high of 85 and a low of 71 with sunny skies. Tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, look for clouds and slight chances of showers and thunderstorms. Highs will be in the mid-80s and lows in the mid to upper 60s. Friday, we'll see partly cloudy skies, a high in the upper 70s and low in the lower 60s. Just a reminder that this is northern Indiana and this is all subject to change.
Thank you, Jet. Before we close out today, I would like to thank Mr. Walmer, Kennedy Adkins, Mr. Van Loo, Mr. Huffman, and the radio and TV crew. Thank you for joining me today, and enjoy the rest of your week, Warriors. From the TV studio, I am Devin Van Loo, signing off.